Uncharted. It is here. It is out now. I feel like this movie has been long in the process of being made of development for I don't know how long at this point. Like I remember when the games first came out and people said at the beginning that it's cinematic enough to where it should be adapted into a story. And for the longest time, people kept pressing on it. They wanted to cast Nathan Fillion for the longest time. He became so frustrated that he made his own fan film as himself as the character. And now they cast Tom Holland, and here we are. Sony finally has Uncharted out. It's in theaters. It is making a killing right now. It's doing very well at the box office. Jader, you saw Uncharted last week. What did you think?
It should be killing, to be honest. It's a fun movie. This is a fun film, and I can't stress that enough. It's directed by Ruben Fleischer, which is hit or miss for me, very hit or miss. He did Zombieland, which I thought was exceptional. I love that film. It's one of my favorite zombie films of all time. But he also did Venom, which I wasn't a fan of.
And Zombieland 2, which isn't that great either.
But Zombieland 2 is still not as bad. Like it's still like it's more of the same. And I was like, all right, I can do Zombieland. I can deal with Zombieland 2. I haven't seen it again since release. But I also didn't walk out of that theater like I hate this movie. It was more of a okay, I had like, this been the original, take that, but we've seen it. Yeah. But yeah, so he's a very hit or miss, but I don't want to say he was completely in the zone when he did this movie, but I felt like he did a really good job. He created big set pieces that just worked for me. But before we get into that, are you a fan of the video games? Did you play these games prior?
I've only played the fourth Uncharted game, which is exactly where you're supposed to start when hopping into a franchise, and right. I was a little lost on the story, and I liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I could see why it was so popular. I think the fourth is the last one that happened, unless they did some spin-off or whatever.
They've done spin-off. But if you're following Nathan Drake's story, it's there's actually little spin-offs for like the PSP and stuff like that. But main story, I mean, I can't say main story because they're all in there. But the PlayStation release ones on actual consoles have been four. It's been Uncharted, Drake's Fortune, Uncharted 2, Amongst Thieves, Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception, and Uncharted 4, A Thief's End. If I'm not mistaken.
So that's what I played, was the fourth one, and I just remember loving the story, even though most of the story had even happened, and thinking, like, listen. Throw me into a treasure hunting thing, and I'm all for it. Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark is one of my favorite movies ever. I'm all for a cool, suave guy going out and trying to find treasure in the middle of, South America or Europe or wherever it may be, and, dealing with tricks and codes along the way. And so you throw me into this movie, give us Tom Holland as Nathan Drake. Not my first choice, honestly, if you gave me a list of actors, he is not one that would have popped out at all. I think Tom's a fantastic actor. He just never really shouted Nathan Drake to me before. But let me tell you, I thought he was really good. I thought Tom was pretty good as Nathan Drake. I was in on it. I thought he carried himself well as this explorer. He has the physicality for it, too. He does still kind of look like a kid, but for the first film, I think this is something you can age with. Thought he did really well. And as a whole, as a movie, I was into it. I had a ton of fun, man. I thought this from start to finish. We're watching this guy, start at the beginning, lose his brother. He's now an adult, and he goes out and he, gets thrown into this adventure that he seems completely capable of handling. And I was in on it the entire way through. What did you think?
All right, so let me take you back to 2007 when the PS3 came out, right? So 2007, PS3 drops November of 2007, if I'm not mistaken, or I want to say September, around there. Uncharted was actually one of the few, I don't want to say launch games, but it came out months after the PS3 came out. It was one of the first games that I played on the PS3. So I've been on this Uncharted tip since the very beginning. Major fan of it. That's the one game that I can't go back to because I have played them repeatedly, and part one is the one that kind of like aged the worst out of all of them. But just like you said, I was all about this game just because of this the treasure hunts, The characters were so appealing. The main characters, the villains of Uncharted have always been very forgettable, but the actual characters that Drake surrounds himself with, the protagonist and the cast that goes along, have always been something that really stuck out with this video game, at least for me, and I've loved it ever since. And I've been a day one fan. I want to say, like, I got it out of whim because I'm like, hey, I need something to play on my PS3. This game looks cool. And I literally played it like that. I fell in love with it. Sequel is still probably my favorite. Then 3, 4, whatever. I loved every single one of these games. And I went into this game, to this movie, very skeptical, not only as a fan of the game, but more of everything that's happened behind the scenes, where again we are in this world where we're trying to be on top of movie news as much, and this movie has been trying to get made since like 2010, maybe.
Long time.
It's been, and it's been, they're gonna make an Uncharted movie, and again, it's one of these people that should easily translate from video game to big screen, because everything A is already there, and B, it's one of those things that it's just such a fun ride that making a movie out of this is not just for somebody that likes to play the video game. If you like adventure, it's a, swashbuckling buckling adventure, this is for you. So I went in there a little skeptic. I saw the trailer, I'm like, this looks better than I thought it was going to be, especially after all the reshoots. We have this director, we don't have this director, this actor's attached. Mark Wahlberg was attached to being Nathan Drake for a while too, full
circle.
Exactly. So obviously that all that news comes a little skeptic. You at least for me, I became a little skeptic, and again, being a fan of the games, I'm like, I don't think they're gonna capture that that magic. And once the movie finished, I don't want to say that I didn't have fun, because I just said I did. My issues with this movie is that I feel like they miscasted both Tom and Mark Wahlberg for the roles. Are they bad in the roles? Absolutely not. They were great, but that's the only thing for me that kept me, like, instead like loving this movie, I was like, all right, I didn't see any character. There was moments where I was like, that's something Nathan Drake would do, where Tom Holland was kind of like nailing the character. Very, very little moments though. And I felt like Mark Wahlberg was not Sully whatsoever. He was Mark Wahlberg playing Mark Wahlberg, named a guy named Sully in the film.
So let me ask you this then: if this movie wasn't called Uncharted and it was just some treasure hunting standard title thing, would you feel different?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I'd be completely fine with them calling this movie Treasure Hunters. Whatever.
Love it. Great title.
Yeah, it was the first thing that came to mind. But something like that, and I would have been like, man, that's a really kick-ass movie. It kind of reminds me of Uncharted or something like that. You get me? But this was like, again, if you like, you mentioned some Indiana Jones, National Treasure, these treasure hunt movies, these are all fun. They're you sit down, you strap in, and you ride this awesome ride throughout. It's just a lot of fun. And I felt like the movie did its job. It needed to do what it needed to do. Again, being a fan of the game, I'm like, oh, that's from part 1. Oh, that's from part 4. Wow, we're grabbing stuff from part 3. Holy shit, that's from part 2. So they were grabbing little things from every single video game, where I'm like, oh, it's pretty neat. Some people got bothered by that. I didn't. I think the best thing that I can advise anybody who hasn't seen the movie already and is just waiting is, don't go in there with the mentality that it's gonna like rip. I don't want to say rip, but just grab the video game and then do a full adaptation based on one single game. It's basically an adaptation from the video games. If you see it like that, you should have fun with this movie. There's a part where you see the waters rising. I was having anxiety in that moment. So again, there's certain scenes in this where I'm like, man, it's just a fun film. I went with Steph, and she knew nothing of this lore, nothing of this world. She knew the title, she knew the characters, but doesn't know anything of the characters. She just knows that the game is about a treasure hunter named Nathan Drake, and that was it, right? and to be she ended up loving the movie. She thought it was such a fun movie. She was like, it has everything, has a little bit of comedy, has a little bit of drama. The set pieces are great, and I love that third act. The third act for me was just something I'm like, man, they really pulled that off. You know, you have no, you know, barely spoilers, but you have two giant ships and people jumping from ship to ship.
So good.
It was so great. It was so great. And it's just, again, not a movie that I ever thought that I would think, because I didn't think my kids were really into this. I tried showing them Indiana Jones. They weren't interested. But when the movie ended, the first thing I thought about was like, I'm going to take my kids to see this movie. They're actually going to really enjoy it.
Yes. I think it has a potential. Like, I was locked in when Mark Wahlberg started fighting people in a Papa John's. I thought, all right, this movie knows exactly what it is. It's having a good time, and he went full Mark Wahlberg at one moment. I think there's a moment where he discovers something. He's like, "Oh my gosh, this is everything we've been looking for. This is exactly what I've been doing." Like, and the Mark Wahlberg voice comes up. It was fantastic. I think this. I'm going to put an end to this this debate right now. The video game curse is over. I'm officially saying it right now. The video game curse is done. Detective Pikachu, Sonic the Hedgehog, the Tomb Raider, the new one, Alicia Vikander one. Hell, I liked Rampage, Angry Birds Movie 2. Listen, there's a lot of decent video game movies out now. Do we have a great one? No.
Hey! Don't knock Mortal Kombat, bro.
That's what I forgot. Mortal Kombat, another good one.
Mortal Kombat, man. I had such fun with that movie. I know
movie.
people shit on that movie all the time, but I thought that movie was fantastic.
That new one is really good. I had a good time with it,
I had
man.
a good time watching it as well, my friend.
So
we saw it together.
Yes, I think this video game curse is done, and I think Uncharted might be my favorite of them. I don't know. We have another one coming out later this year, Sonic 2. I think Uncharted has the potential to be like a less spy, less techie Mission Impossible series. If they do this right, they can do the same exact thing Mission Impossible is doing. Up the stakes every time, bring in new characters. As long as you have a good director, you have good set pieces, people will be there to see it, because people are here to see this right now. And I think this also tells us that Tom Holland's a movie star. I'm sorry, people aren't doing it just because it's Uncharted.
Legit, the first thing I said as soon as the movie ended was, I'm like, that guy's a star. He's a star. Yeah. He just 2 months ago crushed the box office, with Spider-Man, and then now he comes back and he's kind of, I mean, not Spider-Man numbers, but this movie did a lot more than people thought. Even the studio thought they were gonna make, Yeah. And they always, with these movies, you're always gonna get a setup for maybe a sequel just in case. Never not, sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. It's just a scrapped idea. I think we're getting the sequel. I think it's gonna happen. They're gonna up the stakes just like they should. And they already did the introduction with these characters, so they can always, exactly what you just said with Mission Impossible, just take a little bit and a little bit and a little bit. This is more I feel, again, more in Indiana Jones light than it is. You're never gonna get obviously a character like Indy. He's one of the most iconic characters in cinema history, right? But and I'm not saying that Nathan Drake will rival that, but I'm just saying the fun factor of those films, or the reason why you go in and watch these films, is that just going on this adventure. It's kind of like when we followed Rick O'Connell in The Mummy.
Yes,
the Mummy films were just so much fun as you're watching Brendan Fraser get into these adventures. I feel like Uncharted can definitely do that. We talked about Tom Holland and obviously Mark Wahlberg. We haven't talked about the supporting cast. Not that there was much, but I really did love Sophia Lee as Chloe Fraser. I thought she nailed that role, and I think that was the most true to character in the movie. Like, she plays exactly that in the game. Sorry, in the game is what I meant. And Tati Gabrielle as Braddock. I really liked her character as well. It was more of how do I say this? Like, I wanted a little bit more of her.
She just felt like evil for evil's sake, and I think that
I wanted her to be a little bit, but she did a good job with what was given to her. So I did want to give her a shout out. I thought she was a good actress. I just wanted a little bit more out of the character.
And I think what we're gonna see in this sequel is we're gonna get a lot of background on Sully, because so many characters are like, man, Sully sucks. Like
Yeah.
he's screwed me over this and like so I think he's gonna get his. There's gonna be a lot more depth going on with Mark Wahlberg's Sully in the next movie, because he's connected to it feels like almost every major character in this film.
Yeah,
So
he is. And then when obviously Antonio Banderas is in the film, he plays again. I felt like he played the villain well. Again, something that, but wanted a little bit more out of him as well. I felt like this, and it's like I guess it's true to form, because I said this earlier, where the villains are somewhat forgettable in this franchise, where who you're actually looking to see is Nathan and Sully and Chloe, and you get another character which I don't want to say just in case they don't introduce her.
yeah, but name like the Mission Impossible villains. It's tough. Besides Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Seymour Hoffman, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, but that was the third one. Like, who's the first guy? With John Voight? Like, I don't even know his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Like, I think it's gonna be like that. We'll eventually get, if this franchise continues and it gets better and better, which I think it has all the potential to. I'm excited for the future of it. I am. And so let's wrap this up with a score.
Can we give a quick shout out to the Scotsman?
Oh.
He was great.
We couldn't spit out a line that we could hear.
Like, what? His lines, his back and forth with Tom Holland was so great, man.
Great joke to have in the movie.
It was so good, man. It was so good. But go ahead. Sorry.
All right, a score. Where are we gonna? So we're gonna do this out of 5, I guess. Let's. All right, out of 5, what would we rate this? I'm going 4. I had a great time. I would see it again. This is the type of movie, if it's on TV, I will stop and watch it wherever it's at. And I can't wait to see another one of these. So I'm going 4 out of 5.
I actually was going to go like a 3.8. Can't give it quite a 4, again, just because it is based off a video game franchise. Had it not, I probably would have given it the same score. But just because it has the characters, and I felt like they didn't nail the character aspect of this, can't get it quite there, but it's not as bad. Again, it's a fun film. It's one of those that I got, as I started thinking about it, I started liking a little bit more, where I was like, you know what, just get over it. It wasn't the exact characters you wanted, but you do get, you get something. So 3.8 for me. Still a fun movie. If your kid, it depends on what you let your kids watch. I mean, I let my daughter watch Scream the other day. It is had a good time with it. So this is, I feel like, I want to say kids that are like 8 and up, 9 and up, even though the film is PG-13, has some violence in it, but nothing too bad. It's just a fun watch, man. It's good seeing them. Again, the stunts that are pulled in this movie. The chase. There's a chase on a rooftop, kind of like nowhere near like the beginning of Casino Royale, but you have that little chase scene on the rooftop. Yeah. Them thinking how to solve a puzzle. There's just a lot of things that are that were really good from this movie. So take the kids. It is a good time. I feel like everybody will walk out of here. This movie doesn't suck by any means. It's a fun movie. You'll get out there, just disconnect from everything that's going on in the world right now. It is probably your safest bet of what to watch during the weekend as of right now. So,
and film Twitter needs to stop with the video game curse thing. It's over. I'm declaring it now. It is over.
Boom.
It's officially done. Sonic 2 is going to continue that, and maybe Chris Pratt's Mario movie, but we won't talk about that. All right.